What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I'm going to be breaking down what's going on with SPY, Tesla, the QQQ, and many tickers out there, and break down what's going on with the overall market and how this may affect Tesla, what the news is saying about Tesla that just came out, and why tomorrow is going to be a pretty wild day because we have lots of options expirations and big data coming out with some Fed speakers. Now, before I break anything down about all this information, before I get into any more details and talk about Tesla's share price and why on earth there's going to likely be a big test tomorrow, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And finally, don't forget about the Moomoo link. The offer ends very soon. Put in $100 and you're guaranteed 5 free stocks with a $100 cash reward. Check that out before they run out. Now, with that out of the way, let's get on with the video. SPY was up 1.24% for the day, getting an absolutely crazy day. Yesterday, I told you guys that I was very uncertain about SPY, and I told you guys to watch for confirmation. But in the morning, I told you guys that we're getting some bearish signals, and there was a good chance SPY could end up cooling off a bit. But then as SPY started pumping, I released another video, and I told you guys that, you know what, the market ended up making a huge U-turn, which I wasn't really catching in the pre-market, and the market looked like it was going to continue to pump. And as a result, the market continued to pump. We saw SPY break above 440, and I told you if that broke, watch this resistance at 442. And if that broke, watch it was 443.75, which is very close to where this thing went to. And it actually ended up continuing to break out, right? It broke many of these resistance levels, and I didn't really see this in the pre-market. It was very surprising. A lot of people got faked out because of it. And the question is, will it continue to move this way? Well, we saw Aapl break a lot of new all-time highs. It made a new all-time high, then it came down, then pushed up for another new all-time high. Aapl was very bullish. This helped SPY in the QQQ pump. And as the market pumped, Tesla didn't really pump with the market very well, unfortunately. It did get this very nice looking candle in the very beginning, but then after that, it was just very sideways price action. Tesla ended up slowing down and it closed kind of red. So there is technically some relative weakness, but it's not the end of the world because there's no true confirmation of Tesla breaking down. So there is hope for Tesla, but we're going to have to wait and see how these levels test, especially when Tesla makes the big test tomorrow, which I'm going to talk about very soon. But first, let's talk about why tomorrow is going to be very significant for the markets. We have lots of options expiring. We have another OPEX expiration day. We have just under 2 million SPY SPY calls expiring tomorrow, just under 2 million of them. And we have 1.3 million of the calls in the money. For the put side, we have just under 3.7 million puts expiring. So the majority of positions are puts, right? So just under 2 million calls and just under 3.7 million puts with a 1.91 put to call ratio. Max pain's at 415, and we're actually 6% above max pain, which means the market makers do not have to hold the market up at these levels or even pump the market very hard for the market to continue to squeeze shorts or even hurt shorts and for the market makers to still have the edge. But there's a good chance they're incentivized to at least hold SPY up quite a bit. So it's unlikely the market's going to just like crash tomorrow unless there's a very bad catalyst and the bears try to fight back because there's so many puts out of the money. There's a chance they're going to try to fight back, but we'll have to wait and see depending on the data. Now for tomorrow, we have some big catalysts coming out. We have Bullard speaking from the Fed early in the morning. Then 1.5 hours or about an hour and 45 minutes before the market opens, we have Waller speaking from the Fed. The Fed speakers could move the market, so be careful with that. Then after that, at 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, 30 minutes after open, we have the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report coming out. That's going to be important. The Michigan Inflationary Expectations Report, the Michigan Current Conditions Report, and then the 5-year Inflationary Expectations Report alongside other pieces of data. The market's going to make a big move depending on this, in my opinion. If inflationary expectations are too high, the market could end up cooling off a bit. If not, the complete opposite could happen. There is also a risk that the market could cool off a bit by the end because of the fact that it's a long weekend, but it's not a guarantee. And when I say long weekend, I mean on Monday, the market's going to be closed because of Juneteenth. There's not going to be trading. So there is a possibility of that, but like I said before, we're just going to watch on a level-to-level basis because it's very hard to predict what's going to happen with all of these catalysts and all of these pieces of news coming out, especially the data from Michigan that's coming out too. For Tesla, looking at the data, we have some good news. The Model 3 listings have dropped significantly. The Model X listings are downtrending. The Model Y listings are going up a little bit, and the Model S's are very, very flat, going up just a tiny bit. The only thing concerning is the Model Y inventory levels going up a bit. This tends to be one of the most popular vehicles, and it going up, it's really not that bad. I mean, it's still at a relatively low level compared to other times. I really hope this starts dropping nonetheless. But part of why the Model 3 listings are dropping very hard would be the fact that Tesla's offering a 3-month free superchargers subscription. It's basically going to be for free, and you can charge your car for an extended period of time with the new Model 3 if people do buy them. And that's, once again, great news for individuals. More and more people in the US and Canada are going to continue to buy them and be incentivized to buy them because of this. And this is incentivizing them to get rid of more inventory before the new refresh ends up coming out. I consider this good news, and this is actually helping them for the time being. Let's hope this continues for them moving forward. But looking at other pieces of data, we are seeing Tesla's volume slowing down a bit. We saw this in the 170 millions not too long ago. Now it's at 159 million. So volume is slowing down a bit. It is still above average, so it's okay. But the short volume is starting to, decrease just a little bit relative to price. At least as of yesterday, it was at 63%. And looking at some more data on Tesla, the price price ratio was very high on Tesla. It's starting to decrease a little bit, which shows Tesla's losing a little bit of relative strength compared to the markets. Despite that, KGI Securities is bullish on Tesla, saying it's going to outperform the markets. Tesla has this very strong support in this 152 to 150 range. You can see in the volume nodes right over there. Finally, Tesla tends to be green about 48.93% of the time on Fridays historically, so they tend to not be the strongest days for Tesla. And our best hour tends to be around the 4th hour of the trading day. June tends to be a strong month for Tesla. We're green about 78% of the time. And for most of June, Tesla has been pumping, but it is starting to show some signs of exhaustion and it cooling off just a little bit. The short interest on Tesla has been cooling off too. It used to be at 64 plus million Tesla shares shorted. Now we're only seeing about 47.9 million. That's what helped us to pump over the last couple of days. But this data could change once we get more data for today and also for the data for tomorrow. But now let's talk about the charts. What on earth is going on? Well, honestly, guys, I'm going to remain very unbiased in this video. The market right now managed to break above a very important resistance. SPY managed to break 442. That is historically a strong resistance, and that's a good sign for the bulls. However, tomorrow could be a new day depending on the data that comes out and what the Fed speakers say. So we have to be unbiased when looking at this. If we remain bullish, because the current trend on the 4-hour, for instance, is still very strong, there's no true signal for weakness. The only thing is there is a bearish divergence on the 4-hour and also on the 1-hour time frames, but there's no confirmation that the market is breaking down. So it doesn't make sense to turn into a mega bear right now because there's just no confirmation of the market breaking down. The market's continuing to hold up. SPY is currently holding up above 442 in the after hours. And like I said before, there's no signal of the market starting to tank. It's just a warning I have, though, that this signal is developing in the process of developing, which could mean something big for maybe like next week or later on. Just keep this in the back of your mind just in case something happens, like there's some kind of big news or something. But for now, just looking at the technicals, this looks strong. We're holding up very nicely. We're going to react to the data, so I'm going to be open-minded, but for now, it is favoring the bulls a bit more as of right now. Could this change during the pre-market? Could this change tomorrow morning? Yes, but right now at the time I'm recording this, we're looking pretty good. Now, let me just note that there are levels to watch for, and that's why I'm going to be unbiased. If there's bad news tomorrow with the data, if the market sells off because of it, or the Fed speakers tomorrow, watch support at 442. If that fails us, watch 440. Then watch 438, 437.31, 436.64 to 436.25, followed by 435. We also have, not to mention the 50 EMA at 437 now, a lot higher than before. The market's holding up all right. If this thing tries to turn bullish and we see this thing try to bounce, watch resistance currently at about this 43.75 to 444 zone. This is going to act as resistance. If it breaks it, watch 445. Now, 445 is going to be significant because if we manage to hold above 445, there's an increased probability of this thing going all the way up to this 450 level because the resistance there is not as tricky. It's not a guarantee, but I'm just saying that there's a good chance it's going to go much higher into the high 440s if it manages to hold above 445. So that's going to be a very important level to watch tomorrow if it does pump more. If it cools off more because of the weekend, don't forget about the support levels. Things could change depending on the data that comes out. So please expect a big move after the first 30 minutes and be ready for that. Now for Tesla, we got a really nice pump with the market once we opened up, a crazy pump to open this up, and then Tesla ended up failing to break above 260, but it did hold up, so it's still in the middle right now. If Tesla wants to return bullish, and there is still hope for it, it needs to hold above this 257.75 resistance. If it does so, watch 260. 260 is going to be very important for Tesla. If it breaks and holds this in a strong manner, it has potential to break, retest the high it made at 264 and potentially break it and get closer to 270 if it manages to hold 260 very well. For now, though, you could argue that Tesla's making like lower highs and lower lows in this trend, and it is slowing down a bit, but we need more confirmation because Tesla held above the 1 hour 50 EMA for the time, for the majority of the time today. And it's still holding up, right? It's not really tanking very hard. It's only down 0.35%. It's still holding up quite nicely. So I'm going to look at either the 30-minute or the 1 hour 50 EMA, depending on where we are tomorrow. For Tesla support, we're going to be watching this 255 zone. I think we're a little bit below it in the after hours. So then the next one's going to be 254.25. That's basically where Tesla bounced today during its low, besides where we opened at. Besides that low, this was the next low it made on the 30-minute time frame, the 254.25 area. And if that fails us, watch 252.5. Then after that comes 250. You got to watch 250 very carefully. That's our major support. If Tesla breaks below 250, it has a lot more potential for downside. So be very careful at that level. But for now, Tesla's holding up, and we're going to see how it reacts to the data. Overall, it's looking pretty decent. Now, I'm just going to talk about a couple of tickers, by the way. I want to try to make this video shorter than usual because I'm honestly feeling like I need to take a small break from the trading for just a while and looking at the charts. Let me just quickly go over this. For the QQQ, for bullish, you're going to be watching this thing hold above 370. So far, it's holding up. The trend is favoring the bulls overall, but this could change depending on the pre-market and the data. Let me just note that there is a bearish divergence on the 30-minute time frame, on the 1 hour and the 4 hour time frames on the QQQ. Now, just because there's a divergence, it's just developing, so there's no signal that it's going to play out just yet, unless the market starts downtrending. But for now, we're not seeing it, and that's the reason why we should not assume it's going to happen. So just be patient with that, and just keep that in the back of your mind just in case, because there is a chance a bad piece of news could come out to, hurt the rally. But for now, we're not seeing it, so we should not assume it's going to happen. Meaning, always be prepared for anything at this point, especially because of the data coming out for tomorrow. If the QQQ pumps more, you're going to be watching major resistance around the 372.48 levels. So that's going to be the next one to look out for. If it breaks the high it made today at 371.77. If it breaks both of those, you're going to be watching 375 on the triple Q. If the opposite happens and this thing starts breaking down, we have to hold 370. If that fails, watch 368, 366.68 or the 50 EMA. And if that fails us, there's 366 followed by 365. These are some very important levels to look out for. We are about to get a bearish cross in the 30 minutes, so we might kind of like gap down in the morning, depending on the pre-market, cool off just a tiny bit, but that does not guarantee anything about how we open up tomorrow. It could still pump a lot more, just like how it did today. So I'm very open-minded on this. We're going to see what happens after the first 30 minutes because of the big reaction. The NASDAQ also has a bearish divergence developing, but there's no signal of it playing out just yet. There's no signal of this thing dropping down. There's nothing really proving that just yet. It's holding up quite nicely. It's above the 5 EMA, for instance. And if it does break down, we're going to be watching support at the 50 EMA at the mid 13,000 level. If it breaks to the upside, 14,000 is going to be the next resistance. For SPX, watch 4450 as resistance. If it breaks that, it has potential to go all the way up to 4,500. If it does the opposite, we have these imbalances down here, a lot lower in the very low 4400s. If that fails us, we're going to be watching this thing get closer to the 50 again. 4373, 4373. Sorry about that, guys. That's going to be the next support to look out for. If that fails us, it could get closer to the 4300 area or lower than that. The VIX is just holding up, not really telling us too much about the market just yet. It is trying to break out a bit, but like I said before, the overall trend is still not very strong. It's been downtrending still. It's still below the 200 EMA, so there's no confirmation yet on the VIX of anything. Coinbase has potential to push up if it manages to hold these levels and break out. It has this imbalance all the way up here. I think on the hourly time frame, it could come all the way up to see this imbalance, or even like all the way up here around this like 60 level. If it manages to break above 57.5, if it breaks that, it has potential to hit 60. Apple's holding up nicely. If Apple wants to hold up, we need to break resistance. We have resistance at 186, 186.5, and then 187.5. If it breaks down, watch 185. If that fails us, there's 183.85 and potentially 182 to come. Overall, it's holding up quite nicely. There's no signal just yet. It may see some sideways price action tomorrow, and we're going to see which way it breaks depending on the data. Same thing can be said about Nvidia. If this thing breaks to the upside, you're going to be watching resistance around 430, then 432.89, then potentially 435 and 440. If it breaks down, watch support all the way down here closer to this 425 area. If that fails us, there's 420.69. Then there's going to be, if that breaks, 414 followed by 407. And if all of those continue to fail, it could make its way down closer to 400. Overall, it's in the middle, not really doing too much. It's just going to react to the data for tomorrow. For Google, if it's bullish, you're going to be watching 126, 127, followed by 12, I believe it's 128 is going to be the next resistance zone between 129.5 and 130. If it breaks down and it has this imbalance, so there's a good chance it's going to try to push it up. But like I said before, if it breaks down, depending on the data, 124.41, 124 flat, 122.16, and 120.75 are going to be supports. For Amazon, if you're bullish on Amazon, we're going to be watching this thing break above 128.84. If that breaks, we're going to be watching 130. If it breaks to the downside, there's 126, 125, 123.9, and then 122.2 as supports. We're in the middle on Amazon, so watch all of these levels carefully. The overall structure is still, it is favoring bulls a little bit more, making the higher highs, but on the 4-hour time frame, it's about to get a bullish cross, but it's not really, it's getting like tighter, if anything. So there might be a bigger move later on. For now, it is a little bit more in favor of the bulls from a technical standpoint, but it's going to react to data. Last but not least, for Meta, if it's bullish, we could see 285. If it breaks that, could make its way up to 287.5. If it breaks down, watch support at 280. If that fails us, there's 276. And if that fails, 275, 273, I think around that area. 270, 269, and then like the 268 area, followed by 265. So lots of support on Meta holding it up. The trend is still in favor of the bulls. So we're going to be watching resistance and see if this thing can break out. Anyways, guys, that's what I have for this video. Thank you all so much for listening. Please have an absolutely spectacular rest of the day and get ready for a lot going on tomorrow. Yes, SPY and QQQ have bearish divergences that are developing, but there's no confirmation of them playing out. And it could still pump a lot more. These things could still pump a lot more because the technicals are not really flipping just yet. So that's the reason why I'm stressing to watch for confirmations, watch support and resistance levels, and watch everything very, very carefully. As for Tesla, it's still stuck in this tight range. We're going to see what this thing does tomorrow, depending on all this data coming out from Michigan and all of the other information from the Fed. Just be ready. Don't forget, we have a lot of options expiration, so there could be a lot of manipulation too. Just be ready, watch the levels, and I'll see you guys very soon. Tesla is still looking a little bit weak as it closed red 2 days in a row, and it is underperforming the market, but it's still holding support, so it's not looking very weak. It's still holding up overall. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. With that said, thank you for listening. I have some merch if you're interested in buying anything like a cap or a tank top or a hoodie. If not, completely fine with me. Thank you for listening. Tesla to the moon is the long term is very, very bright, and peace out.